mesdames et messieurs, nous allons retourner au podium. Cérémonie protocolaire dans cette catégorie formidable générale de l'organisation classique. C'est la troisième marche du podium. Ils arrivent de Castellet et de sur la deuxième marche du podium pour le Brésil avec Cleric. Et sur la première marche du podium de Monaco, Leclerc. Et le team vainqueur, le team italien, débat pour la team. Mesdames, messieurs, en honneur du vainqueur de la principauté de Monaco, Arthur Leclerc, l'île monégasque. Voilà, mesdames et messieurs, je vous demande d'applaudir avec Arthur Leclerc, Jean-Pierre et Julie Lys pour les colis. Nous allons passer maintenant au podium des rookies, c'est-à-dire la jeunesse. Et dans quelques instants, bien sûr, avant de passer au rookie, la photo officielle, the picture. Mesdames, messieurs, le podium rookie sur la troisième marche du podium. Nous allons accueillir pour le Java Olivier Rasmussen.
Hello and welcome to the south of France, or alternatively, if you were with us yesterday, welcome back to the circuit Paul Ricard at Le Castellet, about an hour or so from Marseille, almost within sight of the sea. A glorious location, beautiful weather, as you can see, beautiful blue skies, but a stiff wind blowing. The wind, of course, named the Mistral. You see there that air temperatures down a little on yesterday. Track temperatures, though, in the low 40s. No chance of rain, thankfully, but it is very, very warm. Wherever you are in the world, you're very welcome to this second race of the TCR Europe season for 2020. The delayed opening race weekend I mentioned yesterday. It's 45 weeks since Josh Files took the 2019 title. So, strange circumstances this year for everyone, but a huge element of relief that we're finally back underway, and a decent grid here at Le Castellet. All 24 cars entered for the event, expected to start race 2. I mentioned yesterday that our two previous champions in the current format, if I can put it that way, of TCR Europe are here this weekend. Josh Files is race coach, driver coach for the Beckmans at Target Competition. Mikel Azcona, we didn't really see Mikel yesterday, the 2018 champion, driver coach for Evgeny Leonov in the Volcano Motorsport Cupra. And I was picked up on social media last night. Hello, Sylvia, in Hungary, mentioned that I should really say hi to the two previous TCR Europe champions, the TCR Europe Trophy as was. So Aurélien Comte, the winner in 2017 when it was a one-off event at Adria, and 2016's winner Pilou, Pierre-Yves Cottal, when it was a very much mix and match kind of year. Again, the TCR Europe Trophy contested that year. But this traditional format, if you like, of race weekends having been in place now, this is our third season. And there is confirmation of our entries. I mentioned yesterday Nestor Girolami taking the place of Viktor Davidovsky. And I'm being whispered in my ear that we have a slight delay. This TCR Europe race, the last race in the morning schedule here at Le Castellet, and things have just nudged on as events have gone on, as qualifying sessions and other races have taken place. So I'm being told a 5-minute delay to the green flag lap, so that will get underway at around 12:15 local time. So we have a few minutes in which to tell you about the runners and riders this weekend. Yesterday, if you'll recall, we were something like 4 minutes late. And then this is the race that will take the circuit up to its lunch halt. There you go. Confirmation, 12:15 local time for the green flag lap. And then the lunch break will be tweaked slightly, so the afternoon session will get underway on time. That, of course, is of no significance to us. It just means that we're running slightly late on this second race of TCR Europe. A couple of things to tell you about following yesterday's race. The race itself, if you were with us yesterday, pretty much the podium positions were decided in the first couple of 100 metres. Dan Lloyd making a great start from third on the grid to lead going into race one. Mehdi Benani also getting past pole sitter John Filippi going up to turn one. Filippi, there he is, saying that he just ran out of room. He was squeezed going into that first left-right sequence at Verrières, turns 1 and 2, and so really didn't have anywhere to go. He dropped to third, and then they ran together for the remainder of the 10 laps, and that's how they finished. Dan Lloyd taking the win and an early lead in the championship, finishing ahead of Mehdi Benani, and John Filippi finishing in third place. A couple of penalties handed out. The stewards, in fact, looked at 3 decisions or 3 incidents, 3 investigations after the race yesterday. They decided, surprisingly I thought, but obviously they had a lot more information available to them than I did, that the collision between the contact between Pepe Oriola and Jessica Beckman was a racing incident and took no further action. The contact between Martin Rieber and I think it was Gilles Colombani right at the beginning of the race, we didn't see the contact, we just saw the aftermath of Martin Rieber's car pulled up. That was deemed to have been Rieber's fault, and so even though he retired from the race, he was further handed a 3 grid place penalty, suspended for the remainder of the year. And then the other incident that was judged to have been a fault incident was in the closing stages, I think the second half of the race. Sami Tofik passing Matto Homola, and so Tufik given first of all a 2-second penalty, which was just enough to reverse those positions, and so Homola finished 8th, Tufik 9th, but also given, like Rieber, a 3-place grid penalty, suspended for the rest of the season. So that's yesterday's race all tidied up for you. Let's concentrate on today's. And there on pole position, having switched from TCR Germany last weekend to TCR Europe, and delighted that he did so, Mike Halder. Mike and his sister Michelle here in Le Castellet this weekend, and for qualifying 10th, the reversed grid means that Mike Halder will start race 2 in TCR Europe from pole position. There he is. 3 sets of siblings here in Paul Ricard this weekend. We'll have the first pairing. They occupy the second row of the grid. But there is Sami Tofik, who will need to be on his best behaviour because of that suspended grid penalty. Tofik from Morocco, very much protege of Mehdi Benani, his teammate in the Come To You Audis. And Benani getting the season off to a great start for the team with that 2nd place yesterday. Now then, the siblings I mentioned, we've already had a brief mention of Mike Halder and Michelle. Andreas Beckman, familiar name, of course, to TCR Europe. Race winner last year, finished 4th in the series in 2019, and there, alongside him on the grid on row 2, will be Jessica Beckman, his younger sister. Well, both of them actually had a busy year, or busy off-season. Jessica recently had her exam results. She's qualified, I think she said as a solicitor, but certainly in the law. And Andreas is doing his master's in engineering. So a very busy life away from the track. And the third pairing of siblings occupying the third row of the grid. Teddy Cleric, there he is, in the first of the Cleric Sport Peugeots, with his brother Jimmy alongside. And to tell you about Teddy's car, he had a turbo change last night, but of course this point in the season they're allowed a certain number of turbos, and so it was changed without penalty, but he's already on his second turbo of the year. Jimmy Cleric, having had a penalty handed out yesterday, but only for race 1, of course, so he's in his rightful position on row 3. Row 4 of the grid, there is Nesta Girolami, World Touring Car star, WTCR star, stepping in almost literally at the last moment. Had the call up on Wednesday to help out the PSS team from Macedonia, because Viktor Davidovsky, as I was saying earlier, wasn't allowed to leave the country because of the COVID restrictions. And there is our race winner from yesterday. What can Dan Lloyd do? Remember, when we were here 2 years ago for the opening round of the 2018 TCR Europe season, it was Dusan Borkovic for Target Competition who took a clean sweep. So qualified on pole and won both races. It was Felipe who was on pole yesterday, but Dan Lloyd took the win. Can he take 2 from 2? It'll be a struggle, put it that way. Dan Lloyd starts from the 4th row of the grid with Mehdi Benani, and that man, John Felipe, just behind on row 5. John Felipe joining Target Competition this year, having switched last year from the Renault Megane, in which he started the season, the Vukovic Renault, switched then late in the season to a Cupra, and now having changed to the Hyundai run by Target Competition. So confirmation then of our starting grid. Row 1 is Mike Halder and Sami Tufik. Andreas and Jessica Beckman on row 2. Teddy and Jimmy Cleric row 3. Nesta Girolami and Dan Lloyd on row 4. Row 5 is Mehdi Benani and John Felipe. And then behind the top 10, Julien Brichet, Matteo Homola, Danny Nage, Pepe Oriola, mentioned earlier, Tom Coronel, the old stager, and alongside Coronel on the grid is Nicolas Bart, Michel Halder, Florian Brichet, Colombani, Ventaja, Leonov, Martin Rieber, and right at the back, Lewis Kent, and Navarro, Jean-Laurent Navarro in the JSB Competition Peugeot 308. Last of the 7 Peugeot 308s, 3 being run by JSB Competition, 4 run by Team Cleric Sport. And as I said, all 24 cars entered, making the start, including a repair to Jessica Beckman's car after the incident involving Pepe Oriola yesterday. Both doors on the left-hand side, the driver's side of that Hyundai, being damaged. And so Target Competition swapping the doors last night. Briefly saw Michel Halder go through your shot then. There are the Beckmans. There are the Clerics. Girolami, Lloyd, Benani, Felipe. There is Pepe Oriola, subdued, I have to say. Was having a bit of a moan about balance of performance and the fact that the Hondas are the quickest here. But it is difficult, I have to say, to complain about balance of performance when your teammate wins race 1. So Pepe, perhaps just having been out of the loop a little while and struggling to readapt. Remember, he was very much the leading light in Seat and then Cupra as a Spanish driver. And when Dan Lloyd drove in TCR International, he was a teammate of Pepe Oriola in those days. But Pepe and James Nash very much the chosen drivers to go for the championship. Dan Lloyd came in as the third driver very much. look at that. Dan Lloyd, a 4-point lead after race 1. Points down to 15th place for the race results, but also the change coming in this year that there are now points down to 10th for qualifying positions. So if you're trying to do the sums, that's the reasoning why the points are how they are. Live timing available if you need it from the TCR Europe website, or indeed the TCR-series.tv portal. And live streaming available as usual through the TCR social media pages and also on YouTube. So then, wherever you are in the world, you are very welcome to this very warm Sunday. It is just after 12:15 local time here in the south of France, and we are a couple of minutes away from the start of our second round of TCR Europe 2020. Besides the usual risk that whoever's on pole has to sit there the longest while the field forms up behind him or her, today you can see that several of the cars have their windows open to try and get some airflow into the car. They are, I would suspect, very uncomfortable places to be in the overalls, the fireproof underwear, everything else that the drivers have put on. And so Mike Halder will be just waiting to get on with things. Now that looks like, that looked on the left like Michael Azcona. I was saying earlier we didn't see him. Of course, they're not allowed to be on the pit wall until the cars have left the start line, so that could well have been Mikel. The masks are great, by the way. Let me just say, we feel really safe and we're being looked after by both the series organisers and the circuit here at Le Castellet, but it does make it quite difficult to 100% identify somebody correctly. So then, heat, haze, shimmering. We look down from turn 1 to the start grid forming up. And Jimmy Cleric already in the pits with a problem in the Peugeot. There's a gap on the starting grid alongside his brother Teddy. As the last couple of cars go into place at the back of the grid, Lewis Kent in the gold Hyundai, and right at the back, Jean-Laurent Navarro on the left of your screen. Green flag waves. We are moments away then from race 2 of TCR Europe 2020. The lights go on, they go off, and a bad start from Mike Halder. He bogged down off the line. Sami Taufik, I wonder, will be away. No, indeed, Halder just noses ahead. Halder then keeps first position going into this left-right at turns 1 and 2. Watching for the clean field coming through cleanly. Tom Coronel taking to the curbs, but quite a few running wide. I touched on track limits yesterday. Extremely difficult here, although there are places where the marshals are watching for track limits infringements. There are knockdown barriers. You see one there, where it'll be obvious if somebody clips that, and indeed somebody does. So coming round then towards turn 7 at Lecole, the left-hander, which gets the cars onto the Mistral straight for the first time. 10 laps of this 5.842 kilometre circuit. We look down the Mistral straight now at Mike Halder, leading into the chicane for the first time. Taufik weaving slightly to break the toe. It is Teddy Cleric in third place. The JSB Peugeots, I think that was Florian Brichet just locking up slightly. Some very strange lines coming out of the chicane as we look down at Mike Halder. Sami Taufik in second, Teddy Cleric third, Girolami fourth, Andreas Beckman fifth, Jessica Beckman sixth. Then it's Benani, Lloyd, Filippi and Julien Brichet rounding off the top 10. Michel Halder just in front of Tom Coronel. Then it's Stefan Vontager behind in the Peugeot. Then Florian Brichet. 23 of the 24 cars still running. Jimmy Cleric in the pits as we saw a moment or so ago. certainly Andreas Beckman had a moment with Girolami. The start is under investigation, so hopefully if our producer is listening, we can look back at the start. Now, was somebody out of position, or did somebody jump the start? Teddy Cleric just flashing the lights just to unsettle Sami Tawfik in the Audi. As the 23 cars stream down to turn 1 for the second time. Lewis Kent ahead there of, right, here we go, right, so, start again. And indeed, somebody did move about 2/3 of the way back. I can't see clearly who it was. Tom Coronel in the pits. The DNF for Tom yesterday, so not a great start as Jimmy Claire's car goes down pit lane beneath me. So Claire restarts, rejoins, I should say, as we look at the field coming down towards the chicane, halfway down the Mistral Straight for the second time. Mike Halder, Sami Tawfik, Teddy Cleric, Girolami, Andreas and Jessica Beckman, then Benani. At the back of the field, Kent laying off Navarro and Colombani. As Tom, 25. 25 is Tawfik. I was just getting a message saying, was there a question mark for a jump start from Tawfik? And indeed, a drive-through penalty for Tawfik for a jump start. And that will be very bad news for him, but second place then will be changing hands, and indeed third place is currently changing. Third place is Girolami, muscling past Teddy Cleric. The message will be getting through that there are changes, and again Girolami and Cleric at it, and Girolami comes through. On to the start-finish straight. Tawfik will have had the message, you need to come through for a drive-through. Race director saying they've got 3 laps from the time the message goes out on the timing screens for teams to bring their drivers in for a drive-through. After that, they will be penalised, further penalised, I should say. This is the moment where Girolami just leant on the Peugeot. A clean move, but he wouldn't have got much in between the two cars. A little bit squirrely under braking as Girolami throws the Honda up the inside. Now, what can Girolami do about Mike Halder? Tawfik effectively out of the equation. So, Mike Halder leads. Tawfik suddenly, currently in second place. Girolami third. Teddy Cleric dropping to fourth. Then it's Andreas Beckman. Benani has got between the two Beckmans, so it's Mehdi Benani now in sixth, ahead of Jessica Beckman. Then Dan Lloyd, then Julien Brichet, then John Philippi in 10th. Danny Nage just outside the top 10 currently, as is Nicolas Bartz, Matteo Homola, Pepe Oriola down in 14th, then Michel Halder, and Florian Brichet currently 16th, but will move up into the points thanks to that drive-through. And Julien Brichet having got past Dan Lloyd. So that's the scrap at the bottom end of the top 10. So Brichet now is in 8th. There is Dan Lloyd, car number 1, 2, 3. Yesterday's winner, having dropped to 9th, and then it's John Philippi. There he is, 27 in the third of the target competition Hyundais. Girolami, I think, went through there alongside Tawfik, but the message hopefully will have got through that he doesn't need to worry so much, that the young Moroccan driver will be serving a drive-through at some point. So there is our race leader. There is Girolami, and it looks as though Tawfik, yes, Tawfik serving his drive-through, coming down the pits, and any hope of a podium finish is gone for the Audi driver, the Come To You Racing driver. So things now shuffle. Mike Halder still leads. The gap now between first and second, 2.3 seconds. Nesta Girolami second. Teddy Cleric third. Andreas Beckman fourth. Lady Binani fifth. Jessica Beckman sixth. Julian Brichet seventh now. Dan Lloyd eighth. John Philippe ninth. Where will Tanfric rejoin? So Honda's first and second at the moment. What will Girolami do? Because at the moment this is a one-off drive for Girolami, helping out the team where he's a driver coach to Davidovsky, but with thoughts of the title, surely he's just going to defend and watch Mike Halder take the win. Or doesn't it work like that? Am I being too naive about these things? Will Girolami go for the win, I wonder, or will he do the dutiful Honda driver and ensure Honda 1-2? Andreas Beckman has passed Cleric, and that's a battle going on between 24, which is Julien Brichet, and Filippi. Dan Lloyd is behind Filippi now, so the Corsican driver has passed Dan Lloyd and is now having a look at Julien Brichet. Lloyd, though, not out of things as yet. My apologies, that's Jessica Beckman. Filippi's behind them, so two of the target cars are in that mix. So Brichet has passed Jessica Beckman. Then it's Dan Lloyd, all of them flashing their lights, trying to distract the driver ahead of them. Let's have a look at this then. That's Jessica, and a slight bump possibly. A little love tap from Julien Brichet as he goes through. So Brichet then up into 6th place. Jessica Beckman dropped to 7th. Then it's Lloyd, Filippi, Nicolas Bart now 10th. Then Danny Nage, Matteo Homola, Pepe Oriola 13th, Michel Halder 14th, and Florian Boucher is 15th currently. Halfway through this race then, we're on lap 5. The two Hondas off up the road. This is then the battle that we're concentrating on for the moment between Teddy Cleric, Andreas Beckman, and Lady Binani for 3rd place, for that final podium place. The gap between first and second coming down slightly, 2.31 seconds now. And body damage, I think Andreas Beckman's car has. Julien Brichet just going through the bottom of shot, straight lining the chicane. He's missed his braking point and obviously can't benefit from that, that position on the track. Yep, 24. As I was looking at the flapping bodywork, he locks up. Nope, not going to do that, through the cones and takes the escape road. Mike Halder then, leading Nesta Girolami, Honda 1-2 at the moment. Peugeot 3rd, Hyundai 4th in the hands of Andreas Beckman. Then it's Mehdi Binani 5th in the Audi. Julien Brichet taking a curious line through the chicane, halfway down the Mistral Straight, and is now back behind Jessica Beckman. Dan Lloyd, though, coming back at the Peugeot driver, and Dan Lloyd going up the inside. He's got the position, as has John Filippi, muscling his way past Brichet, and that half a lap has really cost Julien Brichet heavily. So Brichet then drops to 9th. Jessica Beckman 6th, Dan Lloyd 7th, John Filippi 8th, Julien Brichet, a weekend to forget for him. Pepe Oriola too is down there 12th currently. Michel Halder there 14th. Just ahead of Michel is Matteo Homola in the BRC Hyundai. Pepe Oriola 12th. Would seem that he's not going to be able to salvage much from this weekend, which will displease him greatly, I would have thought. So the gap between first and second having extended ever so slightly, 2.58 seconds now between Mike Halder and Nestor Girolami. Then it's a further 3.6 seconds back to Teddy Cleric, and this scrap that you can see there at the top of your screen for third place. Behind Teddy Cleric is Andreas Beckmann and Mehdi Benani. Track limits? What track limits? Oh, and there goes Andreas around the outside, but not really sure that's going to stick for him. And indeed, Cleric blocks. And that enables Benani to get right up behind the Hyundai. Taking the curb as they head down to this final couple of corners that'll spit them out onto the start-finish straight to start lap 7. Virage Dupont, turn 15, this square right-hander. Leader on his 7th lap then, Mike Halder. 2.584 seconds the gap, so a fairly consistent gap between first and second. The gap between second and third has opened up slightly. And this is the moment that Andreas thought about going around the outside, and Teddy just moves across to block. So this is a scrap well worth watching. At stake, the third place, the third step on the podium. Andreas having a look. Oh, just up behind the Peugeot. No contact between the pair that I can see, but he's having a good look, as is Mehdi Benani. Behind Benani is Jessica Beckmann, who's closed right up. Benani goes wide. Jessica doesn't quite have the space to get through, or does she? No, indeed, positions unchanged then. So it's Teddy Cleric, Benani, Andreas Beckmann, Jessica Beckmann. Try that again. Cleric, Andreas Beckmann, then Benani, then Jessica. And there is Dan Lloyd right up behind Jessica as well. But positions remain unchanged. Jessica holds her nerve. .4 seconds now between that man and that man, first and second currently. There is Tom Coronel. Why are we seeing him? Because he's probably going to run wide or do something spectacular. Dan Lloyd indeed has passed Jessica Beckmann while we were looking at Tom Coronel. Andreas once again looks at Cleric. Cleric, though, holds his nerve. So Dan Lloyd moves up into 6th place. 3 Hondas in the top 6. So currently, Honda, Mike Halder leads Honda, Girolami, and in comes Coronel. Now, did he have a brake failure of some sort? Just does seem strange that he ran so wide going through that complex. Teddy Cleric still third in the Peugeot. There he is. Then the first of the Hyundais, Andreas Beckmann 4th, then Mehdi Benani, Audi 5th. Jessica Beckmann, it would seem, has got back past Dan Lloyd. And behind Lloyd is Filippi. So all 3 target cars in the top 8. What a change from a year ago, where the car to have was the Hyundai. And it looks, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I hope I don't curse things, but it looks as though it'll be both race victories here at Le Castellet going to Honda cars. And Mike Halder must be delighted at that decision to switch from TCR Germany to TCR Europe. Really does seem to have paid off for him and the Profi car team. I'll say no more because I am getting into the realms of the commentator's curse now, aren't I? There is Mike Calder, 2.5 seconds, still this consistent gap. And Girolami, I suspect, is playing the dutiful Honda driver because he's not really taking part or planning to take part, I don't think, in the entire series. This is just a one-off because of Davidovski's inability to travel. And Naj has got past Brichet. So Naj now 10th, Brichet having dropped to 11th. Dreadful weekend. Home weekend for both Brichet and the Peugeots. And there'll be some looking at the data, I suspect, between now and the next round at Zolder in 3 weeks' time. So there is Lloyd in the sandwich between, as John Philippi tries to go round the outside of Lloyd, runs wide, going through turn 15. And there is Jessica having dropped back. Now, what was the cause of that? So Lloyd has got past Jessica, who's also dropped behind John Philippi. So Lloyd having moved up to 6th behind Benani now. This is the moment then, let's have a look. There goes Lloyd through, and indeed Jessica just runs wide. No contact or anything, just potentially missed her braking point for that right-hander. And Dan says, thanks, I'll have that. And remember, a couple of years ago, the pair were teammates in TCR UK when they ran for West Coast Racing. Together with Jessica's brother Andreas, they ran 3 Volkswagen Golfs in the UK. And Dan, having served for a while as driver coach to the two Beckmans, so I was going to say he's taught them all he knows, but clearly he's kept a few tricks up his sleeve. So this battle for third still goes on then. Teddy Cleric grimly hanging on. Andreas Beckman, though, and Mehdi Benani still in close attention to the Peugeot. And if Cleric makes the slightest mistake, one or both will be all over him. Because of clashes with WTCR, and being reliably informed that it is very, very unlikely that we'll see Girolami taking part in any further TCR Europe events. Thank you, Phil. Oh, John Philippi just locking up ever so slightly. There he is, just behind Dan Lloyd. We're on the penultimate lap now, lap 9 of 10. While first and second places are pretty much sorted, I'm doing that with my fingers crossed, honest, there are still some good battles going on. This is the first of them for third place. Teddy Cleric hanging on to third place ahead of Andreas Beckman and Mehdi Benani. Then it's Dan Lloyd, who in turn is hanging on to 6th place from a determined charge by John Philippi. There's our race leader, 2.1 seconds now, so the gap has narrowed slightly as Halder starts the final lap. Some anxious faces, I think, behind those masks at the Profi car team, but Mike Halder now something like 5 kilometers away on this final lap here at Le Castellet from taking his first win at the 2020 series of TCR Europe. Remember, he did appear at the final round in Barcelona in 2018, where he took a race victory. But that was just a one-off. This is a season-long campaign together with his sister Michelle, and the team, and Mike in particular, will be absolutely delighted. Surely now, half a lap or so remaining. He turns into the chicane for the final time. Nestor Girolami now just a whisker over 2 seconds behind. This is the battle, though, that we'll be watching right the way down to the line. Teddy Cleric for Peugeot, ahead of Andreas Beckman in the Hyundai, ahead of Mehdi Benani in the Audi, ahead of Dan Lloyd in yet another Honda. There goes Girolami. Here comes Cleric. Benani just has a little look. Beckman moves across to block. Oh, contact there between one of the That's Florian Brichet making contact with one of the Cleric cars. And look at that. John Philippi right up behind Dan Lloyd, but we'll concentrate on this man for a moment as Mike Halder comes around turn 15 for the final time. Heads up to take the checkered flag. There it is on the right of your screen. And a delighted Mike Halder and the trophy car team take the win here at Le Castellet, with Nestor Girolami in second, a 1-2 for Honda. And what will happen for third as Cleric takes the flag ahead of Andreas Beckmann and Mehdi Benani. Great battle for third place. 24, Julien Brichet, and the weekend just gets worse for him. A 5-second penalty, multiple track limit infringements for Julien Brichet, and he and the team will be shaking their heads as they leave Le Castellet this weekend. So behind that battle for third, Cleric, Beckmann and Benani. Lloyd hung on to sixth ahead of Philippi and Jessica Beckmann. Nicolas Bart was ninth. Danny Nage completed the top 10. And then Julien Brichet. Let's just take a look at the order. And the timing screen very helpfully changing as I'm looking at it. And so behind Nage in 10th, Oriola gets 11th. Homola gets 12th. Michel Halder finishes 13th, then it's Julien Brichet thanks to that penalty, and the last of the points places, 15th place, Stefan Vontaja in the Peugeot. Finishing outside the points, laying off Florian Brichet, Sami Taufik, Martin Rieber, Lewis Kent. Jean-Laurent Navarro finishes in 22nd, and then I did see Jimmy Claret going back out down the pit lane underneath me, but he won't be classed as a finisher, and Coronel, you saw his race ended in the pits. So pretty much the same as yesterday. We didn't get the incidents that perhaps we were expecting, particularly after the last time we were here 2 years ago, where we had all sorts of dramas, but two very clean races, and a lights to flag win for Mike Halder. He and the team will be delighted with that. And Nestor Girolami and Honda will be more than pleased, as will the PSS team. The substitute driver, you can't really call Girolami a substitute driver, can you? One of the masters of WTCR World Touring Cars, a race winner when he drove for Citroën. So Girolami makes it a 1-2. For Honda. Cleric salvages something for Peugeot. And let's have a look at the point situation. A 1-point advantage now between Lloyd and Benani, but Dan Lloyd will leave Le Castellet as the series leader. Girolami is third ahead of Teddy Cleric. John Philippi drops to fifth ahead of Mike Halder, who jumps up to sixth thanks to that race victory. 52 points, so 17 separating first to sixth. Then it's Andreas Beckmann, Jimmy Cleric, Danny Nage, Matto Homola, Jessica Beckmann and Sami Taufik. And I wonder if the stewards will have a couple of incidents to investigate after that race. But as things stand, this is how they finished. Mike Halder taking a deserved lights to flag victory ahead of Nestor Girolami by just under 2 seconds. Teddy Cleric finishes on the podium ahead of Andreas Beckmann, Mehdi Benani, Dan Lloyd, John Philippi, Jessica Beckmann, Nicolas Bart and Danny Nage. And behind the top 10 places, 11th is Pepe Oriola, still quite upset, I suspect, that he didn't do better from the weekend. Matto Homola 12th, Michel Halder 13th, Julien Brichet wondering what on earth went wrong, 14th for him, and Stefan Vontaja in 15th. And that's your point scoring positions. Laying off, Florian Brichet, Taufik, Rieber and Kent finishing outside the points. But one thing to watch is that there is also a Yokohama trophy for amateur drivers with tyres. That's the prize on offer. The winner of that Yokohama trophy at the end of the year will get all their tyres for the 2021 season. Second place gets 30 tyres, third place gets 15, so not a prize to be sniffed at. But that'll be worked out, I would suspect, after the race, and so keep an eye on the TCR website, the social media channels, and they'll bring you up to date with the Yokohama trophy. As we look at our race winner coming down the pit lane, he'll head down to the Mini Parc Fermé, Nestor Girolami thanks his race engineer, the guys from Yas and the guys from PSS combining this weekend to run the car, and he enjoyed that. Annette Cuvari, I mentioned yesterday, there she is just briefly at the edge of your screen, our new pit lane reporter for this weekend onwards. She will be chatting to Mike Halder, a very pleased Mike Halder, I suspect, yes, before he even undoes the netting at the side window. You can see just what that victory means for him. Out of the car. And I'm already wondering how many German comments, German fans will be commenting on the social media posts. Teddy gets a kiss for third place, and a brilliant drive, you have to say, by Teddy, because he was under attack for virtually the entire race from both Andreas Beckmann and Mehdi Benani. The slightest mistake would have lost that third place, but indeed an intelligent, mature drive from Teddy Cleric to give Peugeot a podium. But both race victories here in the south of France going to Honda cars. Dan Lloyd yesterday, Mike Halder today, and the perfect start to the season for them. So Nestor Girolami congratulates Mike Halder, who takes his helmet off. We will speak to our race winner very shortly.
I thought it's in the mirror.
And you can see Annette just beckoning Mike over. You have an interview to do, Mike. We want to hear from you, and we want to hear about that lights to flag victory. The all-important mask going on. And over he goes. So well-deserved victory for Mike Halder. Okay then, Annette, let's hear from our race winner.
What a massive debutation here in TCR Europe, Mike, bravo, it was fantastic. Went according to the plan?
Yeah, yesterday I drove with very bad conditions of front tires. So today I start on new tires, and yeah, I have a very good start and get position 1 after the first turn, and yeah, I can drove my own pace, and yeah, it's perfect. It's unbelievable.
So are you satisfied?
Sorry?
Are you satisfied?
Yeah, good. At the moment, yeah, I will have the brilliant start into the TCR Europe. So yeah, it be not better.
Congratulations once more. It's time to celebrate.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well done to Mike Halder. Satisfied, I think, is a good word. Starts his TCR Europe campaign off with a win in race 2 here at Le Castellet. And as they head up towards the podium, let's just remind ourselves of some of the highlights of race 2. Mike Halder to Profi Car, to guys from Honda who are here. We'll turn our attention then to the podium ceremony. And a slightly different podium ceremony. Obviously, no presentations being made, and so the trophies and the champagne ready for collection by our first, second and third drivers, and also a representative from the Profi car team, the winning team. And out comes Mike Halder for a celebratory fist bump. That's about as emotional as it gets, unfortunately, these days. And so, the German national anthem, the nationality of our winning driver. So Mike Halder from Germany, Nestor Girolami from Argentina, and Teddy Cleric from France. Our three podium place drivers here at Paul Ricard for race 2 in 2020, TCR Europe. Our congratulations to them, and our congratulations to the Profi car team. Do you know, it's already looking like quite a season. We have... well, I think it's far too early to put any bets down, but we have quite a few drivers who are more than capable of winning races, and indeed more than capable of taking the title. 6 race meetings, a slightly shortened season from the original 7 that we were planning, but certainly an interesting weekend to start this delayed TCR Europe campaign. A little bit of champagne spraying. And congratulations for Mike Halder once again. So that then was Paul Ricard. The circuit here at Le Castellet in the south of France. Beautiful blue skies and warm, warm sunshine to start the series. Dan Lloyd then leaves the south of France with a 1-point lead in the drivers' table ahead of Mehdi Benani. Nestor Girolami, I suspect, as I was saying earlier, that's probably the last we'll see of him. He's currently 3rd ahead of Teddy Cleric and John Filippi. But Mike Halder, thanks to that race victory, already 6th in the series, 17 points behind Dan Lloyd. But we are, at last, underway for TCR Europe 2020. Thank you for your company, and thanks for the support on social media. We will see you on the 12th and 13th of September at Zolder in Belgium. But from France, goodbye.